Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Spar and Brawl. I hope you're having a decent day. As always, I'm joined by my co-host Sam, and we can't help ourselves, so we've created another show. This is Progressive World Mini. So it's just like a normal Progressive World, except mini, so short version. So you can find timestamps down below, and please like and consider subscribing as well. So we have 3 stories. The first one is on Saagar and his take on TikTok, and I just want to understand him a bit more. So we're gonna do a watch along of a 7-minute video.
Wait.
Yeah.
I have to explain. Camille has developed this sort of interest, like in the same way a botanist develops an interest in a sort of a plant. And because of his interest, every week I have to watch Saagar fucking... Anyway, go ahead.
Just trying
I
to
made you watch
understand.
Paul Mason videos, so I can't complain too much.
This was a short one too. Then Brianna had a video on Colombia, on bad faith, on Colombia, sorry. So we'll discuss that. And finally, The Hill had a few videos on abortion versus vaccine mandate, and 1 or 2 other ones. And we're just going to talk about that and The Hill more specifically. And we've also, of course, just recorded a new episode of Progressive Tweets that should be up. So go check that out. But all right, Sam, should we get this started? Should we switch to the watch along kind of setting? And then for the other 2 stories, we'll revert back.
Sure, but just... I believe TCT left a good criticism or some criticism on one of our videos. So that's kind of goes well with our video. So I'm just gonna probably discuss that viewer comment there.
That comment, well. Yeah. So that will be with The Hill. Yeah. Okay. I know that I wanted to talk about that one too. I thought we'll leave on. Okay. Sounds really good. Perfect. All right. Let's move to our first story. Okay, Sam, so before we get this video started, so I mean, as a psych major, no, I'm joking, I'm not studying psychology, but yeah, very interested recently in Saagar's positions and takes. So we're gonna analyze Saagar and at the same time also the actual issue of the video, which is about TikTok. So all comments that fall under those 2 areas are more than welcome.
I mean, this, and let's go ahead.
All right, so let me know whenever you want to pause it.
Sure.
Saagar, what are you looking at?
I've covered the dangers of TikTok here for a long time. Leaving aside its technology, whether it's good for people's brains or not, is a basic fact. The most used app by American teenagers, and increasingly every American, is not only from China, but directly controlled by China. The Trump administration was too incompetent to actually follow through on a ban. The Biden administration is too captured by the powerful China lobby to actually do anything about it, and would probably fall for the fake criticism that banning TikTok is racist against Chinese people. But for years, the TikTok lobby has said people like me are crazy, that the TikTok US has a different data server than its Chinese parent company ByteDance, and that their data is not accessed by the parent company. Now that is really dumb. Why would a company who owns one of the most valuable technology platforms on planet Earth not use it for commercial reasons? But now we finally have the truth. ByteDance and TikTok's lobbyists were lying the entire time. And we know because of some great new reporting at BuzzFeed News. BuzzFeed was provided with 14 statements, recordings from 9 different TikTok employees that indicate engineers in China had direct access to US data between September of 2021 to January of 2022 at the very least. That directly contradicts sworn testimony by TikTok executives before Congress that a US-based team was the one who decided who got access to their data, when and during an independent process. The magnitude of the lies that TikTok told really are stunning, given the recordings that BuzzFeed has. In one instance, they literally have a member of the TikTok trust and safety team saying, quote, "Everything is seen in China." In another meeting, they refer to their Chinese bosses as the, quote, "master admin who has, quote, access to everything." When TikTok was confronted by this, here's what they had to say, quote, "We know we're among the most scrutinized platforms from a security standpoint. We aim to remove any doubt about the security of US user data. That's why we hire experts in their fields, continually work to validate our security standards, and bring in reputable, independent third parties to test our defenses." In other words, it's freaking true. And they know their product is so addictive, most of you won't care and will keep using it. I honestly don't mind at this point. I get it. It seems fun. Truly, it actually is not on you to answer these questions. It's on the government to keep people safe. And by that measure, it is obvious beyond a shadow of a doubt that TikTok should be banned immediately. The algorithm is not that hard to do. They were just the first to market. It can easily be replicated within a year of going away. It would have a major replacement. We already saw that in India, where it was banned not that long ago. But I think I should also address some of the most common arguments on why it should be banned. First I hear is this: what, do you only care when American companies steal people's data and have access to it? That is a fair point, but there's a critical difference. There's a huge difference between Facebook, the corporation, and the US government. Facebook, Google, Apple, Twitter, other tech companies, yes, they have been caught by Snowden working in some form with the NSA. But they still have legal rights under US law. Apple literally told the FBI to screw off and that they would not open the phone of a terrorist. Facebook, Google, Twitter, and others at least require a subpoena signed off by a judge before they will turn your data over to the government. In China, none of that exists. There's no court system. If they want something, they take it. There's no burden of proof. If you're the son, the daughter of somebody who works in the US government or military, they 100%, beyond a shadow of a doubt, are pulling your data to glean even the tiniest bit of information. Second is this: let's say you don't care about privacy. Well, I think that if we're going to ruin our culture and then our people should be at least the ones who are doing it. In China, their TikTok is not like ours. They have major restrictions on when children can use it, and the content they incentivize and push on their population is highly regulated. All of their TikTok celebrates achievements in math, science, music, literature, and other areas that are deemed necessary to the state and to the progress of the Chinese people. To be clear, I 100% do not want the US government to do that. But I also don't want the Chinese government artificially pushing narratives from gender ideology to excessive entertainment on our populace for a soft power gain of trying to weaken the American youth. If we're going to poison our youth's mind, promote fat culture and other stupid stuff, at least let it be known it is being done for commercial American profit, not at the explicit behest of a US adversary that wants to hurt the US population. There's only one way to guarantee that outcome, and that is to ban TikTok to see if the exact same type of content is promoted. Personally, I do not actually think it would change that much, to be honest. But let's say it's 5 to 10%. Screw it, it's still worth it. Third is the final argument, which is Americans should be free to say whatever they want in America. TikTok has documented instances of censoring content on their platform that is critical of the CCP, of Hong Kong protesters, or of Uyghur genocide. In this country, you should be able to say whatever the hell you want about America, China, about whomever, within the bounds of the First Amendment. And then fourth, and actually finally, is the basic issue of fairness. Right now, Google, Facebook, Twitter, and many others, US technology companies, are banned in China. Why should they get away with banning our flagship tech companies when one of theirs explodes in popularities here in the United States? We can make a deal with them, I guess. You can stay here if you let us in there. That's not going to happen, and we all know it. This backwards relationship is typical of all of our trading relations with China. The bottom line, though, is the chief reason the Biden administration has leaked that they don't want to do this is because they're afraid of being called racist. They are so afraid, in fact, they recently shut down the China-focused anti-spying program out of concern that it was being applied in a racist fashion. This is after multiple documented instances of Chinese citizens coming to the United States, gaining access to cutting-edge R&D programs or secret U.S. government-backed science programs, and then sending data back to Beijing. In fact, after the Biden administration closed the China initiative, their own Justice Department was still forced to charge a pair of Chinese researchers for trying to steal proprietary mRNA technology and send it back to China. The Chinese themselves have a term for this. It's called Baizo. Baizo roughly translates to white liberal progressive views, which are, quote, obsessed with political correctness and who are ignorant, arrogant Westerners who, quote, pity the rest of the world and think they are saviors. I have an idea. Let's just prove them wrong. Let's prove that we are at least as smart as they are, and let's just ban TikTok now. Now, I'm not stupid. I know it's not going to happen, Crystal, but look.
Cable news.
All right, so we ended up watching the whole thing, so might as well return to our
You're so
to our
polite.
normal setting. We're too good this time. I thought we were going to stop every 2 seconds. But okay, what do you make of his arguments? I was thinking to change things around. Why don't we start with the best arguments that he makes? What do you think is the best argument that he makes for quote unquote banning?
Let me just get ready. I love it when somebody's this stupid and this public about their stupidity. You know, it's just
well, in this one, he acknowledged a few of his like how ridiculous his sounds, and like he had like he acknowledged how some of his
He
points were
acknowledged how
ridiculous,
unlikely it is
but he
for
also had
her
this little
his be.
smirk. Like he was like, yeah, like, oh, yeah, I'd rather if it's done by American companies at the very least. So I kind of appreciate his transparency in this one. But yeah,
No,
I was
no, it goes
gonna
far
talk
beyond that.
about the most serious thing I find
Okay,
that he
go ahead.
says. I find like
All
the
right.
best excuse or reasoning that he gives. Although I don't buy it, I'm not saying that I agree with it, and I might have a kind of naive take here actually. But I guess the best one that he says is about the information, and it, like, you know, the Chinese government having access to the information. I think that's the only one that even makes a little bit of sense to me, at least. And even that, not that I agree, and I think that, you know, it takes it too far, like cartoonish, and the relevancy and the usefulness of this information and how it can be used. But that's like the best argument I thought he made. So I don't know what you make of that, or if not, you can just.
I know what's the impetus behind that, but no, I don't think that argument has any merits in the case of America. So let's, this specific point that you brought up, the idea that a country, for example, needs to limit the access of its citizens to certain social media aspects because of the potential activities, clandestine activities by foreign governments that want to undermine it. As an Iranian, I have lived with that, as you know, for my whole life. You know, satellites, they are undermining the country. They are causing people to revolt. Then social internet is causing people to revolt. Then Facebook is causing people to revolt. Then it's Twitter that's causing people to revolt. I don't believe in that. I'm sure CIA, Iranian intelligence services, Chinese intelligence services, all of these countries utilize social media, internet, books, television programs, whatever. You go back in history, I'm sure the scrolls were used to spread propaganda or whatever, you know. So yeah, all of that is happening. But I think if we have to distinguish between different states. We are not talking about Lebanon, a country that is just completely and a failed state and is just be tearing itself apart. We're talking about America, one of the richest country in the history of human world, with the most advanced technology. Maybe not the best place to live for every citizen, but they have the best technology at the moment. So it's, in my view, it's in my view, in my case of in Iran, I've always criticized this, because if you can't, because I don't believe in power of propaganda and stuff. So, and it goes, my main argument goes back to the main thing he argues in the very beginning, that it's a fact that TikTok destroys your brain.
We'll get to that,
which is not. So that's, if you don't accept that premise, in my view, even if you accept that Twitter and Facebook is causing your people becoming losing their minds or becoming obsessed or becoming addicted, that's a failure of the state and education system. And banning something, like, again, you know, you can, when there is a problem of alcoholism in your country, you can ban alcohol and pretend that it's the alcohol's fault that people are drinking too much. Or maybe you can look around and maybe you can create jobs, or you can have a good life so people don't turn to alcohol or other things for, and that's, by the way, that's actual addiction. It's not some bullshit correlation based addiction. That's an actual physical, after a while, if you don't get alcohol to your body actually hurts, not your brain, your body. So I don't find any merit to his argument. Maybe it was if it was like, that's why I don't see the same Iran or in Russia or in China. But if it was some really failed state, Afghanistan, and you know, they were in an emergency situation where the whole world was trying something, and maybe in that, okay, I can see, okay, ban Twitter for 1 week, ban Twitter for a while. But I mean, his whole argument is based on bullshit. His country's, you know, the country, again, I think it's a failure of education system and a state if children are being fooled by TikTok, which I don't accept that they are.
Yeah, I mean, those ones put aside, those ones I don't accept at all. This one, I interpreted, the one that I brought up, interpreted as him saying like, oh, they're gonna they can use that
Steal
information to then come and like, he gives an example of like, like a politician's child or something. So I mean that's
like, I'm sorry,
and
but
like,
he says
this is
like,
like
he
this is like the
says there
best kind of argument, and I don't even like, and I still don't even really buy it. But yeah,
no, he's stating the obvious. He says there is in China. He says there is no court system. There is no like legal system. If they want, they can just request information of an American citizen. For example, politician's child. Of course. What do you think? Like, I'm sorry, but this is like a stating the obvious. Did you know, Sam?
Yeah.
If you use your phone from Iran to contact the American politician, it's probably gonna be, heard by Iranian and NSA.
Yeah.
Like, I assume every Chinese government will try every other way to get to families of officials in America. So what now? Americans should not stop the phones because the phones are
exactly. That then the question becomes: so is TikTok really that like
and
particularly, especially
exactly
dangerous? Then that's the argument they have to make, and the Chinese can weaponize it in such a way beyond every other way that they get to work, and TikTok is just such an Achilles heel. That's where I stop disagreeing. So I get a little bit with what he's saying, but it just in reality, I don't think it has the impact that he thinks in theory it could have. So that's where it comes to, that's where even that argument I don't buy. Now the other ones, I'll get to them. The other ones are complete bullshit, and he even laughs at them, and we'll talk about those.
Not really, but look, there are two things that before you go argument, but I want to make a general thing. Okay. Please. First of all, the science thing is complete bullshit. I'm not saying there is no connection between TikTok and your brain. You're moving towards anxiety and depression, which are what he's talking about is bad for your brain. According to studies I've seen, is all about anxiety and depression, right? And then there's the Facebook studies about extremism, which are even more bullshit. There is no established causational, conclusive study that establishes causation between usage of internet, specifically TikTok, and depression and anxiety. There is some interconnectedness. It seems people who are depressed and anxiety-ridden are more likely to use social media, including TikTok. That seems to be the trend, but this idea that it's a fact, it's bad for your brain. You don't understand science, you dim-wit idiot. I don't know which university. You went to George Washington University for political science. I don't know what the fuck they taught you there, but you dim-wit. You don't understand that what is science, okay? Causation, correlation. This is like first year uni, last year of high school. Even my fucking 7-year-old nephew understands.
Let's keep it chill in this one. Let's keep it chill.
Yeah. Sorry. And then the main, the other thing that comes across, these idiots are, this dimwit is basically advocating for capitalism, for corporations, without really this is about the brain of our children. This is about protecting our country. All of this is bullshit. You fucking our. What do you mean our? What did you do? What was your contribution to the R&D? This R&D that is being stolen. This R&D, which I'm sure you're part of the profits that these companies, they share them with you specifically. The R&D that and then mRNA, they stole our mRNA technology. Oh my God, the Chinese are built their own viruses without paying, by their own vaccines without paying exorbitant amounts to us. What a tragedy. What a tragedy. Go fuck yourself, dimwit. You're just a tool. I know it's an overused term, but you idiots, there should be a picture of him in front of you idiots in a dictionary. Like, doing corporation works in our national security, our young people. This is not about profits. This is not about Apple and Google trying to protect their market share against TikTok or Facebook with Instagram. You're such a dupe. No,
I think I agree most of what you say, so I'm going to try not to repeat them. So the first thing that he starts off, like, a danger to our children and all this. So you said the scientific stuff, very true, right? And the second one is,
I
even
would
if
like
you
to point to a specific reference.
go ahead if you want to.
Wisecrack just did a video on exactly this thing. Wisecrack, we did an interview with the founding. I highly say, they don't say, by the way, they're not as harsh as me that this is all stupid and all that. But check out their video, very balanced with actual research and actual science. And they actually know how to talk about science. They're not some idiot who apparently went to George Washington and didn't learn shit.
So even if it wasn't for the science and all this, even if the science backed it, right? How would removing one social media platform and replacing it with another one, whether an existing one or a new one, not lead to the same problem? So there is like a big logical issue here.
Security.
No, the one about like our kids and our brains and all this.
No, that one, it doesn't solve that. No,
so,
he says even if
exactly.
He says even if we want that to happen, we should want that to happen by American companies for American purposes.
That's the first one. So that one doesn't even like really, doesn't. If you're there, you're just gonna replace it with Instagram or something else, right? Of course, the privacy laws in the US, they kind of made me laugh because it really made it seem like, oh, like in the US, like Facebook and all this, they don't want to give information, as if that's such a thing. I mean, he made it seem like wow, they don't give, they fight until the last day. He kind of threw the Snowden in there. I love this. Then he says another one is like, the most important thing is like, we should be able to say whatever we want. And we know on TikTok they censor people. What was this whole discussion about Twitter that's been going on for a year or two about Twitter and Facebook sanctioning not allowing this to be said, not allowed that being. I mean, I guess those conversations he's never heard of them. So that I love. And then the other one that I love so much. Fine, go ahead.
Yeah, I have to say, there is two things which are so idiotic. One is that, for example, he says that TikTok has been found that they, in the US government is different from the companies. Okay. I mean, this is another differentiation. Is it really? Is it so what are we talking about when we talk about revolving door? What are we talking about when the defense minister works for the Raytheon? What are we talking about when half of the tech companies get funding from defense?
So they're not literally the same, right? But in practice, how different
they are. Especially if you're leftist, which Crystal, by the way, is just sitting there and is snickering. She's just snickering. If you're leftist, you would say no, we believe in a class analysis of society, therefore government is just anyway, and then he talks about for example, under oath, TikTok said that. Who was that under oath just a month or 2 months before that? Edward Snowden? Was it not the head of CIA? I forget his name. The guy who's on CNN now. He was like, no, we don't surveil American citizens. So and he talks about it should be protected under First. These motherfuckers, man. He talks about First Amendment. Do you know, like under First Amendment, you can like Twitter, like if they adhere to First Amendment, then you can post porn all the time. Then you can post anything all the time. They obviously have certain kind of moderation, and you can say anything on their First Amendment about just chill the fuck out, motherfucker. And as you said, in practice, Twitter, Facebook, he's been talking about it all the time.
I know, right?
Conservatives are under attack.
Right, I know. That's why a few times I think he admitted, like he thought, like his reasoning is bullshit, but at the end of the day, he wants it banned. They have two more. One is the most childish one, so I'll leave that for at the end. I love that one. But this other one is like the aspect of the content. So they're like, and they're pushing this and that content. I mean, on TikTok, like I've said, they're not pushing Chinese content, right? Americans are not sitting around watching Chinese content. They're watching mostly content made by Americans. Now, fine. He'll be like, no, the algorithm is pushing this specific type. I don't believe that, because I go on other platforms and the same ones on Instagram, on YouTube, on other ones. these
but
same ones,
you
these
can't.
people start on TikTok sometimes, then they become equally big on Instagram or
It's
YouTube
almost
and everywhere.
it's
It's very American stuff that they talk about. There's stuff that are very like
no, it's not.
like big in
It's not
America at the
supposed to be
moment.
about
So I
China.
don't
It's not.
understand it.
No, he's not saying that they support like show Chinese, for example, national movies or something. He's saying that, for example, they try to. That's the argument they made with the fucking bullshit Facebook thing. It's an idiotic argument, but the argument is that they promote division, and they, for example, post something about anti-Hillary, and then they go big group, make a group that is pro-Hillary. They start a fight, and then they have people brought over. So their argument is that they are showing the American content that divides Americans.
Or it's just American content that's just popular no matter what, regardless of TikTok, and it would just flourish in society.
The fact of the matter is the algorithms of these companies is private. It changes pretty much almost. It's dynamic, as Saagar likes to say. It changes constantly. So unless somebody has access to data, which usually only governments have, and can do a proper research, who knows? Maybe they are, maybe they aren't. I doubt it, frankly. I would think TikTok is as compromised as every other company by profit motive, even if it is under the thumb of the state. The state itself is always compromised by profit motive in its own interest. And this idea that the state is now, it's like they're pushing Chinese. So I just have a much more my view of Chinese state is much more relaxed than I think whatever.
I mean, I don't know. You're a bit fairer on this argument, because I know I get this. It's like, okay, yeah, we're not saying Chinese content, but it's like
we don't know
American content that is like pushed maybe because the more controversial one. Like, fine, but the way it's said, it's like as if, people are sitting in like America. I mean, at least that's the impression I get. Just like reading like Chinese like news on TikTok or something. Which
I think the way it's said is that the Chinese are trying to sow the. That's the same way they did the Facebook Cambridge Analytica stuff. And again, I highly recommend watching the videos from the guy Bree had on. I'm gonna find his name this time. And it's all bullshit. And they all participate in it because it benefits them financially, because Facebook and TikTok and all of this shit can get money from investors. Because I've been to those meetings. You go in them and you say this algorithm can change people's mind. It can increase your sales by 10% because we can, through 3 days of highly sophisticated targeting, we can make people think. And it's all bullshit. It's all about very, very inconclusive science. It's all about really limited studies on number of people, most of them who are volunteers, which basically means they are basically like the stupid people, like like a special class of stupid people. So it's just you shouldn't believe like this is all done. So, and that's why Facebook, and that's why a lot of people are, why don't they say that? Why doesn't TikTok? Because they want you to think that their algorithm is so powerful, so they can get the money from investors and then sell it as a mind control it's Minority Report. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit. And that's why I mean he's such a useful idiot, both for the this is American capitalism, sort of what did I call, not free capitalism, like the landed capitalism. This is landed capitalism is speaking through him, because that's what Apple and Google and stuff. That's why this whole thing about Hawaii, the daughter of the owner of Hawaii, the Chinese brand, Hawaii, whatever, she got caught in Canada. This thing with TikTok, all of this is about money. It's about getting some shares in TikTok. It's about not allowing Hawaii to become a competition of Apple. It's 100%. About American people's security or the future of America. Go fuck yourself. No. Or do you think Apple shareholders even know who the fuck you are? Exactly what was Saagar's contribution to that research and development? I want to know. I really want to. What was your contribution to that research and development in America? Your tax money? Fuck off, motherfucker. All that money comes from exploitation of the third world. Jesus Christ, this piece
I-
of I've been on the record saying the same about Iranians who go on about our oil, as if they hunted the dinosaurs down. So everybody needs to chill the fuck out on this our thing, our bluff. What did you do?
So I agree with you. I agree with you a lot. The only thing I mean, like, the algorithm, sure, the algorithm is able to target people more specifically when it comes to like selling a product and stuff. And even if you like agree with that, understand that, that's not the same as whatever content they're pushing, then also being able to brainwash people or like, bring people to your side or something. These are two different things, right? Yeah, the algorithm is decent at targeting, people with some things, they know your age and they know some other information. They see where you've been.
No,
They
can
target
change
product.
your mind.
Oh yeah, changing
That's
your
the
mind,
thing.
that's a whole other thing, right? That's a whole other thing for which there is exactly there. The information, the scientific information becomes very shaky. And then the last one that he makes, Sam, which I love it, and this is only something
The
Saagar.
basic fairness.
Yeah, yes, you guessed it. Only his mind would go there. I mean, that's the one where I changed my mind about this video being only about TikTok to also being about analyzing Saagar, because it's just so funny about the fairness. At the end, he's like, you know what? It's just about fairness at the end. They ban our products. We're going to ban their products. Are you children? Are you a kid? I mean, I thought you cared about what's good for Americans, so you should also stop buying Chinese products in general, because the Chinese don't buy the American products in the same way. I mean, such a ridiculous. It's not fair. They do this and that. I mean, if we're going to be saying this, nothing is going to ever advance in the world. We're going to be going in circles if this is the kind of argument that
before
going
there, I just to clarify a couple of times, I just want to go through a couple of couple of things I took a note. For example, because I want to really come back to the point you made. I have a big point about that. For example, he talks about everything is seen in China, and there's this dystopian term, master admin. Well, I worked in a company. I was like the master admin. It meant I am the one who can. I know
that was like such a scary thing. So I mean, whichever company.
Yeah. Oh my God! And Chinese government, China, and government keep people safe or ruin our culture. Americans. Oh yeah, and I want to really emphasize the fact that how upset he was about the fact that mRNA technology. As somebody I am completely against copyright laws, but I am against them in pharmaceutical companies and all that. And Crystal just being so quiet. I mean, to be honest, the breaking point, we can't watch the whole thing, and I'm never gonna pay for these two dimwits, hearing these two dimwits' opinion. I'm never gonna pay for that. But so maybe Crystal says something, but the idea that, I mean, can you believe it? These Chinese assholes or African assholes, they're stealing our vaccine technology and giving it to poor people. What an awful thing. And I say all of that. That's why I wanted to come back to your point, because as you say, he says, I care about Americans and, all that. If people if you watch, please, one time, whoever watches Breaking Point, watch till the end. What do they say at the end of their every video? They put we want to build a better mainstream, that makes a better America and a world. Motherfucker, I don't want to make anything better. I'm trying to make my life better, slightly more enjoyable, get maybe some money, find some friends, whatever. Yeah, I don't claim I'm building anything. And that's why I hate Breaking Point more than everybody, pretty much more than everybody online. Because Joe Rogan, I hate a lot of things he says. I love a lot of things he says. Jimmy Dore, the same. I don't know who else. Brianna Greyjoy, The Hill, all of these. The Hill sometimes gets on this thing too, so I hate them sometimes because of that too. But this idea of rebuilding a new mainstream and making a better America, the better world. This is the mainstream media is dividing us, but we are giving you the free from side analysis where we just go rah America, rah America. Don't get our vaccines, you Chinese bastards. Again, if you don't claim these fucking moralistic bullshit.
Yeah.
At least I can take this for what it is. But dimwits, you idiots for something you don't even know. Both you and Crystal from whatever. I mean, Crystal is much better. I have to admit. This is a. By the way, this is a dimwit that wants to ban porn and marijuana, but wants gun as to be free. Like, and I mean, I'm not big on pointing at hypocrisy or consistency, but what seriously, I mean, I don't understand who needs to hear from this motherfucker. Like, are we just please, I'm pretty sure majority of the viewers on Breaking Points are smarter than these idiots. Like, the idea that you're anti-porn and weed but pro-guns, I mean, like, what level of stupidity do you have to belong to? Like,
No.
Sorry.
Yeah. No, very good points. And yeah, the fairness one and everything. I mean, I think we've gone through all of them.
It's a fact. Sorry, it's just I remind it's. I don't want to explain that. It's a fact that it ruins your brain.
Whatever that means.
That's why you don't understand.
But hold on, now let me say something though. If I was gonna speak from a very selfish point of view, and perhaps also naive, from a very selfish or naive point of view. Yeah. For me personally, I'd much rather if the Chinese government collect any information they want on me than the American government. Because the American government are the one, anytime I try to cross the border from Canada into the US, they would ask me all kinds of weird questions and everything that they have. They ask you this or that. So you can say, hey, Cam, if you go to China, they'll do that or they do worse, perhaps. But I mean, for me on a personal way, now this is a very personal take here, but I've been annoyed. I'm not going to say I've been annoyed by the American police officers at the border. Oh, where are you born? What does your dad do? What does this or that do? For me personally, I'd be much more concerned. And I think even Americans, who's going to use the information against you? No, but hold on. For an American in America, hold on. For an American in America, who has a higher chance of taking some kind of information that they have in an illegal way and using it against them? The Chinese government or the US judicial system? You tell me.
Look,
I don't even know which one is worse. So putting my case aside, even as an American, I'm just repeating what I was saying.
No, I'm just saying that in cases of like a state, foreign state infiltrating another foreign state, it could lead to terrorist activity, that type of thing. That's the thing. It's different from, you know what I mean, like judicial system, a cop, planting some drugs on you. I know what you mean. Like in every day, you're more likely to come in contact with the US, because you're American or if you're Iranian. But just foreign state actors, the fear is like, like a terrorist act or something like that, I guess.
Yeah, through that,
you know what I mean? It's like much bigger stakes, so to speak.
Because they have the information, and they're gonna use that information to plan this big.
For example, I mean, it's never happened. It's never happened, but it could, like, technically. I would imagine everybody plots to do those things.
Yeah.
So
But at the end of the day, if we make Saagar's wish come true and get rid of TikTok, all the problems that he talked about, none of them would get solved except the one of the Chinese government having access to some information. I think that's the only one. It would solve.
Even not that.
I mean, that's the only one I can think.
Everybody has VPN. What do you think?
No, I don't think.
Do you think teenagers? No, even in America, man, people.
Yeah, I don't think they use VPN. I mean, I don't use it no, there's no real reason. I don't know if people use it that often. Oh yeah, especially if you watch podcasts, you think everybody has has a VPN because they keep on selling them. So yeah, maybe you're onto something.
No, but I mean, it's just, first of all, I think it wouldn't help. First of all, I like to add that I prefer, for a number of reasons, like as an Iranian, I would have preferred Chinese government collecting information than Americans because of just the nature of geopolitics. As an Iranian American, I definitely prefer Chinese government to American, because Iranian Americans or many minorities.
And what about as an American with
as a white
as a white American? Yeah, what about that?
waspy American, in that sense, maybe as a white waspy American, maybe I prefer American government than Chinese
Yeah, and that
government.
that also
Right.
depends on your politics and other things also.
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
But then what also I prefer Chinese style. Why? Because Chinese, frankly, in not just like Chinese and Japanese and Germans, in my general view, are some of the more competent people in businesses. And TikTok, as they say, is partially state-owned. And I prefer state-owned companies rather than this shitty system they have in America where they created 5 layers of bureaucracy. You got Apple, then Apple, I mean, Apple is actually an exception because it owns its shops too. But you got Google, then you got Google sells its services to these companies, and those companies sell it to this company, and that company then sells it to you. And then I'm pretty sure in that process, my information sort of going missing, or and I'm, even though I'm a lefty, I'm genuinely not against surveillance. I think surveillance is largely a good thing. I think it should be increased. It should just be, the information should only be released if there is a case, if there is a legal case on an order of a judge. So I'm not even against surveillance. So
yeah, it depends what kind of surveillance and what situation, where,
so no, a state
how.
surveillance, because a state is supposed to protect us, and a state is supposed to be answerable to the people one way or another.
Yeah.
So it's different from Apple or anyways.
Yeah.
And what are them with?
Getting a subpoena or not, and all these kind of things.
I've seen potatoes with higher IQ. Sorry.
I mean, his love for America is amazing, though. I mean, good for him. He loves his country in an unconditional way. It is truly amazing. I mean, I would keep my eye on Saagar. If I was like, big people with like a donor with money and all this, like Saagar's a great asset to have on your side in many ways. I would imagine extremely pro-American.
You know why he loves
extremely pro-American? I mean, there's so many ways you could use them, and he's so useful if you're a powerful person.
He's a token brown conservative. They love him. I'm sure they love him. And I would say, when I was
extremely patriotic, not afraid of expressing like his exceptional kind of views. He admitted it in this video, I mean, a few times, like, I'd rather if it's Americans who make the profit and all this. So he doesn't even hide it. He comes out there and really says the way he wants to be.
That's not an exceptional view.
Huh?
That's not.
No, I don't think view. Or like exceptional or like biased towards your own country. Yeah, perhaps. I guess different.
Yeah, but people
or say, nationalism. Some people call it nationalism, but I don't know if that's really nationalism. I feel like it's further than nationalism, but yeah,
I would patriotism. Well, I would say that in my view, there was a term my friends used to jokingly refer to me as this for a while, because I was a right winger at high school and university, but it largely applies to Indian British people or Pakistani British people of second, third generation that are surprising. For example, they're very right wing. That I don't know if you know this, but there's a large segment of, and it's Have you heard of the term coconut?
No.
Brown on the outside, white on the inside. That's what I used to get called that quite a bit. I mean, it was a joke. It was for fun. But he's very much in that category of second gen. They love right wingers, man. In Iran, it's the same. Whenever they get a foreigner who's converted to Islam, or a foreigner who comes to Iran for some, they love it. And he's just like that. He's the guy they keep as a token sort of, brown guy.
And
American multiculturalism. Yeah, it's about multicultures. Don't worry, man. I'm sure after we get rid of abortion and gay rights and stuff, we'll keep you. Don't worry.
Okay, Sam, so let's move on to our second story, which is Brianna did a video with 2 guests on the elections in Colombia, where for the first time they say that the country has elected a left-wing politician. I kind of laugh because they say for the first time, there's been a democratic tradition that goes back 2,000 years. And I thought it was going to go a couple hundred years, but Ben Norton himself, who said, since Colombia has been a nation for 100 to 150 years.
nation for 140 years and like basically became democratic in late 1990s. It's like
I just so
it's so funny.
Yeah, okay. But yeah, what do you make of the whole thing? I think I have a comment here that kind of goes with the point that you're going to be making. But anyway, you wanted to include this.
I have 2 points to make. One is that, again, I'm going to reiterate the point I made the other week, that people on the left really need to chill the fuck out. Like they don't seem to be at all realistic about when Brie did a great job in this interview, asking them specific questions. For example, bringing up the example of Yanis Varoufakis in Greece and how he was sidelined by the Alex Tsipras and the main party. So they sort of beat around the bush, talk about it, but I think they are way too positive about the people power and about the potential it has, and about how people need to understand Ben Norton. And this is the third point and the main point I really wanted to make, to be honest. Alejandro, what is this with do you support this? I hate this. It happens with Spanish and Arabic, that people who suddenly spend 2 days in Spain or something, or people who go to Arabic countries for 3 days, suddenly they come back with my name is Sam Danishvar. I was in Spain. I was in, and then Alejandro, Pedro, and then you have the same with Iranians. They go to Arab countries, they come back and they're like, hello, how are you doing? Salam alaikum. Suddenly it becomes all throaty and they're doing original accents. What is this?
I mean, I don't know. He speaks Spanish and whatever. I mean, he wants to, said the names with the correct pronunciation, and he's living in Nicaragua.
Do you do that? You are learning Portuguese and stuff. Do you do that when you speak? When you are speaking English and then you mention somebody's name, for example?
No, exactly. Like I was gonna say, I mean, if I'm speaking Portuguese, I want to say Brazil. I'll say Brazil in the Portuguese way. But if I'm speaking English, I mean, people make, you know what? That's funny. Like in
Pedro Gonzalez walks into what?
Sorry, or like when I name like countries and stuff. Like let's say if I'm speaking English and I'm gonna say France, I don't say France. I'll just say
exactly.
Maybe for Iran I would say but some people do it a lot, but I don't do it. I'll just say Iran is, I wouldn't say Iran like the Americans say it, but
but Iran is a bit different. France, you are adding a new, or you don't go Deutschland, because Germans call it Deutschland, right?
Fine, fine, okay,
You know what I mean? I hate that suddenly when it comes, Maria Garcia walked into and she's
but people is different, right?
People need to understand it's changing, and I hate this journalistic thing. All of them do it, but he does it too. I've been here for 2 years. I went talked to 5 people, and those 5 people told me how bad it. I don't care how many. The Hill, by the way, the lady who went to Russia. We're gonna talk about that in a later segment. She does that too. I went to Russia and I talked to 4 people who were on Georgia. Sorry, I went to Georgia. That because you met 4 people now, it's like people who meet one person from Japan and then they tell you that, oh man, Japanese people, they are like that, like as if just that one person was just all of Japan. So I don't care about this personal stories. I don't care about.
But let's come back to your main point.
Is my point, which is people, Colombia is changing. This is a pivotal moment, and stuff. But I would. It was a great, especially the older gentleman was great at explaining that in Colombia, in this case, it seems that the guy who has won by combining his forces with the hard left. So hard left has a much better hand to play here than, for example, some other example. So but everybody needs to chill out on the whole, it's a pivotal moment. Left is reviving in France and Colombia. I mean, we are gonna right now. What's coming is probably the worst economic situation in the last 100 years. What's coming with the inflation, a scarcity of goods, energy crisis. So I think we need to really be careful about giving bullshit hope to people. And the guy is already a centrist. So I think they're let's see how they do in power.
Yeah, I think I agree with what you're saying. Like, I mean, it's good that this happened, but yeah, let's take it easy on both the impact that this could have Colombia and also like putting this in any kind of trend. So again, taking like some elections in France, one in Colombia, and putting it together, especially that we discussed last one, like in Latin America, at least they've had a lot of left-wing, very left-wing politicians all the time. So there were Lula and all these. There was also
Lula,
Ecuador. I heard once
left
someone
wing.
mention, I read someone said, oh, and next hopefully be Ecuador. And it just made me laugh because they had such a left-wing guy in Rafael Correa just like a decade ago. So it's like as if this person didn't even acknowledge that.
And,
But look,
and by the way, those left-wing governments, they delivered so much.
I mean, some maybe delivered some, they delivered some things. Maybe they made some improvements
barely
here and there. Yeah.
Yes,
Different
I
from
mean,
one
I'm not
country another.
dissecting
Yeah.
that, but none of them even had the balls to stand really up to America. Like Lula had the balls to stand up to America, did he? No.
Oh yeah, that they
It's
don't
still
even
their
do.
biggest
Talking about
partner.
locally, yeah. In your own country, what you do. But look, I think also I got this comment. I think the person summarizes your main point, Juan. I would advise all those on the left to pump the brakes. Most Latin American countries resemble the US politically, and the rich still hold tremendous power. And also add to the rich right-wing Republican, all of these, including
No,
in
yeah,
this sense, they'd have to
legislation
make
is the hand of
legislation. Yeah.
between.
He wrote, Petro will have to walk a tightrope. Peru clearly illustrates the troubles ahead. Realistically, he will be forced to govern much like Lula did in Brazil. Now, that will be perhaps like a good case scenario even. In addition, US Fed policy may create a recession in the US that could further complicate issues. It will be a tough road ahead. So, I mean, this person perhaps isn't like, you know, saying everything that we said, but they're just saying easy.
And I like to add
easy.
this. Yeah, the second point also was that we kept comparing US to Colombia and kept saying, for example, the strikes and the protests they took in Colombia and saying, well, in the US, we just sit on our ass, or in the US, blah, blah. I mean, I think people, again, don't, like, US is not comparable to Colombia, just like Lebanon is not comparable to Russia or Iran, or Ukraine isn't comparable to Russia, you know?
Or the reverse, when they compare Cuba to the US, they're like, you couldn't
Yeah,
find them more comparable.
That's exactly. I was reminded because last week I was dinner with these old liberal people, and that's whenever I got really angry this time, and I finally responded, because every time I'm defending like Cuba or whatever, they're like, as a young man, would you rather to go to Cuba and live there, and or would you rather to go to United States and live there? I'm like, this is how you fucking compare. Anyway, but my point being that Colombia, like, are you talking? Of course, people are not in the streets in America because the situation in America, frankly, is not as bad as Colombia. Like, there is differences, just like, you know,
and historical differences. Also, like Colombia just came out of like huge, like pretty much civil war and everything in the country. So there's also that historical aspect.
Yeah, sure, but the economic differences as well.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
the
no,
amount
for sure,
of money
for sure.
That
yeah,
is,
yeah, no, you're right.
So I mean, I don't see the point of, like, I don't understand why can't two people, three people talk about something without letting, like, without wanting to necessarily. I don't know. I found some of the comparisons, some of the things to be annoying.
No, but yeah, by the way, you know what I just thought? Like, I mean, this just hit me the other day. So I don't know the Sri Lankan type of government and everything very well, right? But it just made me laugh because anytime anything happens in you know, Cuba or anything where a country is like kind of like a communist or like, you know, more left, they blame it on those policies, right? And I mean, you know, it's just that, so it's because of that. So it made me think as if like now Sri Lanka, you just say, you see capitalism, look at Sri Lanka, you know?
That's exactly what I did. What the old people, because they keep talking about fucking democracy. I mean, I don't talk about capitalism because I don't believe there is such a thing.
Yeah, exactly. But no, but I'm saying if they categorize it in those caricature ways.
But like they're like, you know, Soviet Union, Cuba, and I was like, oh, Soviet Union is, first of all, is not. So are we counting the Democratic Republic of Congo as a representation of democracy now? First of all, just because somebody calls themselves something, it doesn't mean they are that. Like, for example, Saagar pretends to be an expert on politics. He's not that. But then, secondly, what was the first one was that because they call themselves, they are not that. Secondly,
So I mean, I just brought up the Sri Lanka example, and then not
I
being,
know,
you
no,
know,
no, no,
there
I
are
know.
other capitalists, there are
Yeah,
other
secondly, there is
countries.
such a variety of, yeah, exactly. You can't undermine democracy or general leftism or that type of thing with just, what you have to be specific about these things. Yeah,
exactly. So what? Communism doesn't work
So,
because
yeah,
of Cuba. Okay, capitalism doesn't work because of Sri Lanka.
democracy. Democracy
Or
doesn't work because
whatever.
every
Because whichever one you
there
want to
has been
pick.
more upheavals in democracy. Yeah,
Yeah.
capitalism is just so.
But yeah, you're
I
right.
agree.
That's nonsensical anyway. I mean, it's just to
I'm interested.
counter nonsensical statement.
This is something I'm researching right now, though, that you reminded me of. That I'm genuinely interested to know what is the difference between, like, I'm trying to understand. I don't grasp the difference between capitalism and feudalism to an extent, and this is like I think my biggest like problem with Marx, and like I just don't think there was any other system except capitalism. I don't see, maybe except hunter-gatherer period. Anyway,
but yeah, market based maybe, like capital. I mean, that's also like a differentiation, but I think we should leave that for for another time. Sure. Let's move on to our next story.
Yeah, so but Camille, from now on I would love us to cover Spanish news, so this is from Chile. In Chile, General Pino attacked the enemy. Mucho gracias.
All right, Sam. So let's move on to our last segment on the Hill. So we also have a great comment from our last video that we're going to discuss because it goes well with the theme of this segment. But yeah, the main thing we're going to talk about is Kim Iversen came back from her honeymoon, re-energized, ready to go again. And she made this video, I guess, that's like, and she tweeted about this a lot, which is about the COVID-19 vaccine mandates and abortion. And she's pretty much saying, like, listen, you should have some consistency, and all these pro-choice people who also are hypocrites when they say, oh no, you have to take the vaccine, because one place they say, oh, my body, my choice, but then you're forcing the people to take the vaccine. I get it. I don't love actually the argument, because I see what she's saying, and then she had some great examples to back it up. Pretty much these people who were like, one of them was great though. Like one of these people in the march, the person brought up the point, and then she paused for a second. She said, no, you are right. That is relevant. So I feel like one person had like something to think about, but the other ones were completely like, no, that's irrelevant. What does that have to do with anything? But so I get it with that crowd, how she got them, but I don't love it too much. But anyway, let's talk about it. What did you think when you saw this segment and this argument? And because I think the vaccine mandate, really, it's one thing that needs to be talked about is, does it stop the spread of the vaccine or not? That's such a key point, at least for me, rather than consistency and all this over social issues. And that's me, because, I don't think it's really feasible or easy to have consistency. Things differ when it comes to social and political issues, whether within a country or between countries when you compare it. But yeah, what did you make of this segment and line of logic and argument that Kim used?
I had one big question, which was, did Kim take her cousin with her on her honeymoon? I don't know if you do you remember that Madison Cawthorn?
No, what?
Don't you remember Madison Cawthorn, the Republican guy, took his cousin.
I see, but that had nothing to do with Kim, though.
Well, I just wondered if Kim. I just wonder if it's a, it's activity people do. Anyways, no. But I thought Kim made a good point, but yeah, first of all, I don't think hypocrisy really matters. A lot of people are. Hypocrisy matters, I guess. Inconsistency doesn't really matter, because especially in social issues, there is always caveats to add. So it never works. But more than that, I think, in my view, Olaimi did a really bad job as well. In my view, she came across as, I told everybody, like, I like to do a segment on how not to defend abortion rights, and I thought that's why I thought it goes well with this comment. So I don't know, I didn't have anything specific about like,
Okay, so I
if you
mean,
want, we can maybe should
let's
we discuss the issue first,
very shortly then, I
before
guess.
I read the comments. Yeah.
I mean, to Kim, I'll be like, okay, I understand that, the point, and, you got these people because they say like, oh, it's my body, you shouldn't tell me what to do, or like equality between man and woman. But like, if you put those aside, those people, and grown-ups are having this argument, I think for me, right, I wouldn't find it inconsistent if I say, yes, no, this person should be able to have an abortion. But at the same time, I think and there should also be mandates for vaccines, because it depends. But then again, it depends on the vaccine and case by case. So for the COVID one and the current one, I would say, no, that's stupid, because the vaccines don't stop transmission. So why are you forcing people to have it? No. But if they did, right, then it would be a different argument. And, I don't think I wouldn't have any problem with this kind of inconsistency. And you can even add it, let's say hypothetical, let's say even COVID was even more dangerous, and that this would stop transmission, going from one person to another if you were vaccinated.
What would you
then I'll
say?
be like, yeah, fine. So I mean, the inconsistency burn and all this, I kind of see it, but yeah,
no, but
not really in a
do you
grown-up
then-
argument.
Would you say would you be okay with banning abortion then, based on the fact that it's harming somebody else? It's not, the thing with the vaccination is that if we lived in a world where vaccine would stop spreading, then you can argue, okay, it harms others, so you should get vaccinated so you don't harm others. In the case of abortion, that's the argument. They say that's a living thing.
Okay, but Kim wasn't making this argument, though. This is different. This is a different argument that you're making, right? That's not the same thing.
No.
Hers was just about your body and your control and what you put in it.
No, but
that was the argument.
No, she did refer to my argument in the
okay, but that's a good one,
but
right?
That's the point, though. They say that's harming somebody. That's the problem with this debate.
But hold on,
like, when does somebody become somebody?
Yeah, exactly. So then you say, but you could say, well, anyway, this is just the one person that is like, directly attached to this woman, whereas like you could technically go spread the virus to a lot of people. So that's
legally
one way you could bring it.
Well, legally speaking, the child one is much easier to prove a specific connection that you did that action. But with somebody, potentially some people getting this, so
yeah. But let's say that you could prove it a lot. You could also prove it. Like, let's put that aside. So I'm just trying to think. Yeah, and then it comes. How do you consider whatever the fetus or the kid is in the person's body? However, the person could also say maybe having the baby could also harm them and it could also hurt them. But yeah, I mean, if then you're gonna say, well, the baby's the fetus or whatever is a person, you're harming them by killing them. Yeah. So if you take that kind of logic to it and approach to it, and consider the fetus the same thing as any other human being, then I guess that argument does fall apart, I think. Fair point.
Well, I am surprised, by the way, that you don't have that much. I don't have any. I think, again, the moment that the baby is born, that's when it becomes human.
Yeah.
But because you're vegan, and a lot of vegan vegetarians do have some sympathy for that position, that because any life, sort of, that's a life too, zygote or fetus or whatever. Have you heard that or no?
And no, that's a life too. And I mean,
I don't agree.
Like, if like people were having, if I knew for a fact that people were going around and having abortion for fun or something like that, I mean, it would be also different. And I mean, I'm trying to put my mind in, like, the mind of people who make these kind of arguments. And if not, definitely we're making life way too hard on ourselves the way we're looking at abortion and all these. But we're just, for the sake of argument, we're trying to understand, how they reason and how I guess you could potentially convince people to join your side.
That's another thing. That's my main problem with maybe Olaimi or the Hill as a whole. You can't convince people. Like, people stop needing to stop trying to convince people or
So what do you think would be
changing
like
their view.
a good, so what would be your position? How would you frame your position on abortion? Like if someone just asked you, what do you make of abortion? What do you think of abortion? And you weren't thinking of how this sounds to that person or that, yeah?
It should be like a woman, or if a man can get pregnant, a woman. That's a legal thing. If they want to talk about moral thing, that's a whole different debate.
Yeah.
That, oh, should a woman consult the person who got them pregnant before abortion? I think most cases that would be the moral thing if the guy is not a complete asshole. But I don't think it should be a legal requirement.
Yeah.
These are two different, things. So,
but the person thing makes things very tricky, right? For all those person arguments, you're absolutely right. Because the right, or like some people say, no, a fetus is a person.
Human. Yeah. So you can't argue. You cannot, if somebody has, it's like, if somebody has that belief, that's a belief. You can't argue with that at that point. So you shouldn't really try to change their mind. You should just try to limit their voice and suppress their ability to change politics. I'm not joking about that. I'm genuinely mean that. That's what the right wing do, and that's why they win. They don't try to convince people a lot of times. They try to fucking win. It's not about convincing. Sorry.
No. I think you're making a fair point. And with the person thing, because I always understood it this way, but then it's just a definition that I'm taking. Like my definition was kind of, it's until that baby cannot be sustained without the mother itself, right? That's the point where it becomes, let's say, like a person, where like at 7 or 8 months, you can take out the baby.
That's the point of, I think that's viability.
Yeah. And like a doctor can,
if I'm not mistaken,
a couple of doctors in the hospital can keep the baby alive and then the baby will grow. But yeah, then on the right, though, they can just come and say like, no, actually, when it was a fetus, we already considered a person. But I mean, you could argue based on biology and science in some ways, but will that do the trick?
Personhood is exactly like you. I would argue a lot of animals I've seen are far more emotionally intelligent than a lot of people I've seen. But does that make them a person? So, and I would add Catholics, man. I told you this one time. I think Catholics oppose condoms. They oppose condoms. To them, that sperm already has personhood in it. So you can't argue with this. It's over with, you know what I mean? Like with these people, you can't argue with them. You have to try to politically destroy them. That's all you can do.
Yeah, and maybe you can argue in the long term. So, you can make views on abortion change perhaps over decades. That is possible through like, depending on how it's talked about. Years. Yeah.
If they spend time, effort, and hard work instead of just trying to convince people. You have to spend money. You have to go out. So, okay, this was a comment from TCT. I think it was TCT or somebody put a comment that Sam can speak French. I like to clarify, I cannot speak French. I can do a very good French. Bonjour, monsieur. I am very...
Yeah, I think there was a little confusion between us too, because they also mentioned Portuguese that I said that I'm learning, so...
You're a son of a bitch. Don't you have enough Portuguese,
barely,
French either?
But yeah, and give a little background to what this comment was about. Actually, I've kind of doubled down on my point, and this comment made me even realize I was more right than I thought. So.
Oh, really? Okay. Yeah. Well, we did a video on Olaimi, the new host on The Hill, talking about Julian Assange and saying that she doesn't care too much, perhaps, or it's not her first priority, Julian Assange. And then we did a comment and we said like she should have had a better take, or we disagree with her take. And specifically at some point I said a lot of people, white people especially, I specifically was talking about like right-wing snowflakes, basically when they talk about reverse racism, they talk about this. That's, I think, my specific quote. And then
one of my points I think show up and that I double down it, because she kind of downplayed the Julian Assange thing by saying like, go look what's happening in US prisons and judicial system. Now, just because it happened to a white guy, we're making this big deal of it. I've seen people, they go to jail for like absolutely nothing, for life and all this. So I don't care. And I was like, these are not even like comparable points. And that's the part that I want to double down, because actually the fact that Julian Assange is not even caught up in the judicial system yet. So, I mean, I just think even more now that that comparison was complete bullshit. The American government is after him. Once they get him and bringing, then he'll be part of the judicial system. But it's not like right now some judge has sent him to court or to jail, or that, he's being mistreated in prison or anything like this. He hasn't even made it there. So again, that comparison,
okay, all right,
I thought was very bullshit. The American government is after him, but it's not not like the judicial system in that way, that when someone gets caught and get taken in front of court. So again, I thought just that whole comparison that she used to undermine Julian Assange's case was a bit bullshit.
I feel like you're going a bit far, because he's been to courts in the UK. You are right. It's not a specifically US judicial system, but it's the result of their. So I'm not saying that it's exact apple by apple, but she's sort of. But I think the point that you probably. I mean, okay, it's sometimes I do it myself, full admission, but the argument that word is not fair is never a good argument against somebody saying this is very bad. And you go, well, this is bad. You should see my, it's the old 4 Yorkshiremen sort of, thing, any Monty Python 4 Yorkshiremen, that they keep topping each other in who's got it worse. But let me read the comment, because I guess the comment is very, so the comment is, love you guys. So far, good.
Appreciate that, TCT.
Yeah, I'm sure you know. But your Olaimi take was extremely disturbing, if not offensive. She works as a public defender day in and day out. She actually sees the injustice that happens to Black people in a large number on a daily basis. To invalidate her experience or suggest she's doing reverse racism, quote, is as tone deaf as what she said about Assange. The only difference is her tone deafness is coming from a place of first-hand pain. Yours isn't. This is also exactly why Black people find it hard to form coalitions with this white progressive ideology. There is always a risk of this level of microaggression. So we check out, and I totally understand. So the first thing was, love you guys. That was good. I like that. I like to clarify. But I feel like there is a bit of I don't feel like I was or you were. I don't know if we invalidated their experiences. She's a public defender. She's a good public defender, sure. But I wasn't saying she was doing reverse racism. I was saying that's what the people who are like a snowflake, this stuff, when they see this, they think this is reverse racism, because this is a case of her, in my view. And I point out to the case of Kyle Rittenhouse as well. Go check out her interview with Brie on Kyle Rittenhouse. She gives quite a lot of information that later on I found that were not at all accurate. I feel like she's somebody whose experiences or beliefs, I don't know about experience, usually beliefs, I don't want to blame experiences, has made her to put up, frankly, guards whenever somebody's talking about an issue that is not about a minority or is not an issue she agrees with. And I'll go to when we talk about the abortion thing, I point out some quite inconsistencies or hypocrisies. Not that they necessarily matter, but just to say. So I'm not saying she's doing reverse racism. I wanted to clarify that. I'm just saying that she's being affected by this mindset that it's them, it's us, it's Black people, it's white people, it's I would imagine if Julian Assange perhaps was from a minority or was a female, I feel maybe I'm wrong, maybe she would have had the exact same take, but I feel like that's part of him, because she does mention it's just one white dude. She mentions that part of that aspect really, it felt painted her whole take or affected her whole take on the matter. So, but at the same time, I didn't mean to invalidate her, and
same here. I agree with everything that you said here, and there's like in those middle paragraphs, there are one or two things that I think they don't matter or didn't try to do. So when he says she works as a public defender day in, day out, she actually sees the injustice that happens to Black people in a larger number on a daily basis. She sees it, but I don't deny anything that she says. She gave some examples there. She was like, oh, I think there's this one guy who's going to jail for life for weed.
Fred Hampton, they killed Fred Hampton.
I completely, I mean, anything that she says about the justice system, any case, I believe, and in my head, I thought it was even worse. So that is I have the exact understanding as she does. Now, maybe she gathered it from firsthand experience. I've gathered it from people like her who've said it. So I believe totally everything that she says that, is bad about the judicial system, people getting sent to jail left and right for absolutely no reason. I completely understand that. And so I'm not, I agree, I see the injustice and all that. I just thought it was irrelevant the way she applied it to this case.
I found it.
Her last point, the only difference is her tone deafness is coming from a place of firsthand pain. Yours isn't. I didn't get the firsthand pain one, what TCT is kind of referring to. So maybe he can clarify.
She's a Black public defender in New York. So she either has experienced or has seen a lot of people who experienced racism or police brutality firsthand, but we probably haven't. I would argue,
that kind of makes it seem like she experienced it herself, rather her having seen it and being familiarized with it more. Well, but like I said, I believe everything that she said there. It's totally I agree with her description of the judicial system. But yeah, this last part, firsthand pain and stuff, I didn't quite understand what.
I guess if you're a public defender, she's still, you could argue it's more firsthand. But anyway, to argue in general, like my point of view in general is, it's kind of like the country thing. Like if you're from Iran, you can comment on Iranian issues better. I don't really think necessarily firsthand experience helps. I know a lot of people with firsthand experience of, for example, Iranian or American judicial system. I don't have necessarily the most balanced views. So I see your point, but I kind of disagree. But I would, to invalidate it, I would, what did you say about the public defender? What did you say before this tone deafness? Oh, Julian Assange. I just want to add, the thing about Julian Assange is not just like, I think the level of threat he posed to the deep state, or the level of things he did to a deep state in terms of, if it was a Black man, if it was a white man, like if it was anything, it would be a case it's a case, very important case, right? Because of the level of things he did to the, like, you know what I mean? Like some people leak sex tape of some celebrity, and they should go to jail for that, or they go to, but this is different. You know what I mean? I feel like this merited, and she was so dismissive of it. If it was just another guy being brutally arrested by somebody in the streets by police, and this time it happened to be white, for example. So that was very unbalanced. And I would say, if we are going to talk about precedents and enshrined laws, I believe this was a law that challenges enshrined and precedent in the US very heavily. And keep that in mind, TCT, because now we're going to talk about abortion. And maybe that's actually a good place. And that's why on the abortion thing, I really didn't like some of her takes, man. For example,
so let's get to those. I just want to say one last thing about this. TCT himself, agrees that her take on Julian Assange was complete bullshit. But the rest didn't mean to make it come off in that way at all. But although I think I still stand by what I had said in that segment. The only thing I just want to say, one thing to Olaimi's defense, because when I was editing the last one, I went and listened to everything that she says. So first she gives her take on Julian Assange. Then for 10 or 20 seconds, she says, but no, I understand he was a whistleblower for this kind of information, the President freedom of speech, all of that I understand. Then she brushes that aside and then comes back with her own point. So it gets completely lost. But actually, if she wanted to get us, she could just put out a 30-second clip where she said all that. It's just that before and after, she said things that completely contradicted it in a much more powerful way, really.
It was very much like, I understand your pain, but
yeah, exactly.
It was like that.
Having said that,
it
was like
having said that.
But yeah, I guess now you can go to abortion.
Yeah. On the abortion issue, for example, she did a radar, and in which she talks about the Constitution and how it's like, again, it's like nobody, first of all, understand the right thing, considers fetus alive. I don't know, like what. So she keeps talking about these legal stuff. Keeps talking about how this undermines the privacy laws and all that. And then Robbie's, I think, correctly points out that it's going back to legislature. And in my view, again, as somebody who's for the supremacy of legislature over judiciary, I think that's a good thing.
Yeah, and in theory, at least.
Yeah, in theory. And then in here, you can see a lot of hypocrisy and inconsistency, which, by the way, again, I can be okay with, but it's important to point it out. For example, she's suddenly very upset about this is a law that's been enshrined. This is a lady, one of the guests on the Hill brings this up too, and Olaimi cannot, by the way, control herself when they have the guest on. Her hands are going crazy, and no, so it's a law that's enshrined, and it's been, a lot of people have accepted it. Well, a lot of people accepted that publishers can publish any information from a whistleblower. It's a very long established fact in the US system. In fact, I mean, you had blasphemy laws until, I think, 1940s, if I'm not mistaken, or 50s in America. But that's, I think, since then, freedom of speech has been pretty well enshrined. I believe it's older than Roe versus Wade. So this idea that, just because the law is enshrined, I love that. Oh, it's a very old law. Slavery was for a long time very old law. Slavery,
so that's an argument that she
thousands
made,
of years.
But it's not even a law, though.
So what is no?
Yeah, what does it count as? Yeah, what does it even count?
What do you mean? Abortion rights? It's rights. Yes, the right to have an abortion.
No, I'm just saying it wasn't like a law, right? I mean, I mean, they passed.
What do you mean? What wasn't? It was legal for doctors to carry out abortion surgery or abortion.
But Roe versus Wade wasn't necessarily a law. Like, that's the whole point why we say you should go through the legislative system. It was just a ruling that prevented other laws on anti-abortion laws to be established. I'm just trying to say, is the ruling considered a law? Like, I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying, like, that's like a law. Is that the?
Yeah, it's a federal law.
So any ruling by the Supreme Court is a
federal law.
Is a federal law?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you kind of understand my confusion or what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It doesn't come from Congress or it doesn't come from Congress and
it's
Senate.
Law, but it's law.
But it's still considered
a judiciary can. Yeah. It's not a legislation, it's a law.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, that's I think what I was trying to figure out.
But no, laws can, in many countries, they come from common law.
No, I understand that they come. It just hit me for once. What is the actual?
I
know. You refer to them as
name. I don't know if there's a specific name for it, but yeah. So it is, I mean, again, you see the difference in attitude in enshrined laws when it's your issue. And again, I don't understand this argument. I am very much pro-choice, but this argument is a stupid argument, frankly, that, this is a really old law, though.
Yeah, I don't get that. I mean,
I defend free speech because old law, no, freedom of speech, I defend it because I think it's like good for some reason.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's a really old law, and many things. It's been, there's a precedent, for example, that in many countries there was a precedent that a woman couldn't divorce his wife. Like, only man was allowed to divorce his wife. So, it's an old law, it's precedent, it's enshrined. A lot of men didn't think it's going to go away, Kamiar. A lot of men didn't think their right to, like, keep their women in chains, in social chains forever isn't going to go away. But now it's going to go away. I don't give a shit. I don't care how old it is.
Yeah,
so that's one thing.
I didn't quite get that. I mean, I didn't hear it, but now that you're saying it, I didn't watch the segment, but yeah, I agree with you
Oh,
there. 100%.
yeah, and then she has the same thing about, and I mentioned the other thing, which is the constitution thing. It's like, again, it's like not addressing the issues that the opposite side makes, which is the fact that they believe a fetus is alive. And then on the episode where they have a guest, and Liz Wolf, the pregnant lady who wants a gun, she was like, this baby of mine, this baby of mine needs the gun. She was like, she was saying, and with Kim, she got into this debate that, do you really think that people who are, there is no child support, there is no, for example, educational support, there is no support for single mothers, there is no support for blood, there is no support. So these people, do they really care about babies? Look, you can play again this game of like, what is their psychology behind their minds? What do they really care about? They believe that thing in the stomach of another person is a living thing, and you shouldn't kill it on purpose. That is very different from somebody dying of homelessness. You don't see the differentiation. You think they're hypocrites. You whatever, keep it to your. I don't understand in this public psychoanalysis.
No, I mean, it's cool. Like if you come and tell me, I will agree with
exactly.
you. Or, like that's what
Cenk
does, right? Cenk does that. That's like the Cenk. Technique. That's all he does. He tweets always about that. That's his shtick. But it clearly, like, it doesn't work. Like, okay, so what? You pointed out this very good hypocrisy, or like not hypocrisy, or like shitty way of thinking, even, or whatever.
Yeah, this is more shitty way of thinking.
Or inconsistent, but they don't care. And I mean, I think for me, what has been the biggest revelation,
not just
and I
they
guess
don't care here there is a genuine substantive difference between intentional kill in their view and somebody dying from lack of services or lack of support. I mean, it's like people who, I hate it when people say my friend was murdered by the healthcare system. There is a genuine difference between somebody killing somebody. Like, people, I hate it when they confuse language. And then she's the one who's talking about, vaccine mandate people, anti-mandate vaccine people, they co-opted the language of abortion. Yeah, of course. I mean, sorry.
No. But no, I mean, I was like, and even if you point out to a conservative, like, how point out to them that, you act like you're all morally superior and stuff, but why don't you care so much about, homeless people, or people who are, people who are orphans and all that? I mean, maybe, I don't know, it doesn't work on them, or maybe they'll have a response and they'll be like, no, we also care about them. Or you're also right that they are different things. So you could also make a qualitative, differentiation between them.
Caveat.
So, I mean, both of those are there. But I think what has been the most interesting for me really to realize and understand is the whole person and personhood thing, because it seemed like such a good argument. And perhaps it is, like, in a scientific, logical, and rational way, or however you want to call it. But these people they just refuse to see it that way. I mean, I don't know what you're supposed to do, right? They think that the fetus is a person, and you even made an example that some Catholics are even more hardcore thinking. Now, that might not be scientific based, right? You can draw biological distinctions between a fetus and a baby and so on and so forth, but it's just they're not seeing it that way. So I mean, I think that was very important for me to understand, is that they're just, some of them at least, are not seeing it that way and are not understanding. You keep on telling them that a fetus is not a person, and they just turn around to you and say, no, fetus is a person. You might give some good reason,
by the way, they're not
but
wrong.
They don't care.
They're not wrong, and they are not wrong. Science can tell us many things, but science cannot help us define what is humanity. That is a very personal question. That is the limits of science. And if people don't understand that, I think they're wrong. I disagree with them, but there is no objective way to prove. It's kind of like God. If you believe, people who believe in Big Bang, but they believe God was the first mover or whatever. How do you prove something that is so unintelligible?
No, I guess you could say, but I mean, you could say, like, but I'll agree with you. I'm going to come full circle. So you could be like, no, there's a difference, like the fetus, if I take it out of the mother's body right now, even with the current state of technology and doctors, that will die. Whereas once it hits a certain phase in its growth, I can take it out. I can take it out, and it will be able to live by itself without the mother. But
that's a materialistic view of life. They believe in soul, man. They believe
exactly.
Hold on,
but yeah, I was trying to
exists.
make So they can be like, so yeah, sure, but I consider both of these humans or like babies. So like they'll be like, yeah, I understand the differentiation that you're making, and that's cool, but I still think that this fetus, regardless of whether it can live without the mother or not, and it having qualitative, materialistic differences with a baby, I do not care about it. I think that it still has a soul or whatever it is. So I mean, I think that's been, at least if someone takes anything away from here, it's good that at least I get to learn some stuff.
Yeah,
with these videos.
It's the same argument you see in some environmentalist movements, by the way. This is why I think, for example, you can definitely see some parallels between religious nut jobs and environmentalist movements. This idea that nature, everything natural is good. Like, for example, what's his name? Steve Jobs used to put natural yogurt up his ass to cure his cancer or some shit. Fucking idiots, man. Natural birth. I need to do a natural birth because the pussy static. Oh, fuck
okay,
off.
hold on. I don't know how you went from environment to that. You should have just stuck to whoever it is you're trying Islamic, to make fun of.
No, religious people is the same. God replace nature with God. Why do they like masturbation, for example, in all Abrahamic religion? Extremely frowned upon, but wet dreaming, very good. That's God sending you a message. That type of thing. And again, abortion and all that is the same. You're not supposed to, even in Catholicism, you're not supposed to have sex. Not wanting to sex is for reproduction, because that's a natural desire of the earth and God and blah 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 to reproduce. So it's all coming from that sentiment, and you cannot argue with that sentiment because it's a belief. It's not a rational. So all you can do is think of ways to marginalize those people. That's my view.
Yeah, it sounds harsh put that way, but
because they will do the same to you, by the way. They'll do the same. They are trying to do the same to you. All like with these people, there is no middle ground. With these people, you can argue with some other people who believe, for example, I believe in abortion, but I don't believe it in the 8th month, or I believe it in. With those people, you can argue, but with somebody who believes in souls, which is majority of those people that are, we see those people who are like actually reasonable ones. They are the minority. Majority are the extremists.
Yeah, I can't disagree with you too much there. Yeah, I don't think so.
Oh, but before just finishing off, I forgot to say that in the last part, TCT says, this is also exactly why Black people find it hard to form coalitions with white progressive ideology.
Yeah, we just kind of ignored that because I didn't really have anything to say.
Yeah, there's always a risk level of microaggression. So we check out, and I totally understand it. I don't like, what is the, I didn't, we did the microaggression, or we got like, she did the microaggression.
So. No, I guess we did.
What was the microaggression? Me shouting? Is that microaggression? I thought that's aggression.
I guess like countering her, and I mean he did be tone deaf. And
I apologize if I shout.
Racism.
I like to use the excuse Bill Bear uses, that I'm from north of Iran, very much, north of Iran people, and my family, like I lived in Tehran, but they're from there. The way we talk is very much like the people from Boston. We are not angry. It just comes across as, I don't know why, but it just comes across, I think largely because we talk very fast, sadly. So I apologize. Sometimes I come across as angry, but I'm not.
Yeah, but yeah. And I think TCT is just saying that the way we argue and counter some people makes it really impossible to form a coalition, I think. I mean,
Yeah, but then again,
That's-
please come on. I mean, I'm not interested. Anybody interested for me position with me?
yeah, that
with
put
me?
alone, that put aside. But let's say if somebody else spoke this way and stuff. But I mean, you know,
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know.
true.
But I mean, I guess I'll ask TCT this, which is that how should we have made our, you know, expressed our, you know, our disagreement,
Tone deafness.
our disagreement
Our
with,
view that she's been tone deaf. Yeah.
our disagreement with Olayemi, because I
Oh.
mean, like, yeah, I mean, I'm
I mean,
sure we
I
could have
could
had a different
certainly
approach and
ramble it.
stuff. Yeah, we definitely did, but I mean, yeah, I definitely had a disagreement with her there, so I had to express it one way or another. So I mean, I'm sure there are definitely better ways, but yeah. But yeah, really appreciate that, TCT. Thank you, and hopefully we'll keep this conversation going. So unfair, right? People have to write long comments. I just give them a heart, and then we come here, perhaps address it, double down, so to speak.
Misrepresent the view. Edit the good part out. Edit the part that he's right out. Just keep the wrong part.
So yeah, I always
I know.
feel
No,
bad when we
I-
do that, right?
I like, yeah, a couple of times in the beginning I tried to answer
No,
them,
that
and
wasn't
it just
good. I
ended up
think.
being so long. Yeah.
I think our
And the
current
tone-
system's the best. Yeah.
Yeah, and I
By the way, I've come to realize that people not only come to our page to, you know, watch some of our video, but they also come here to read like Bobby's comments and like what
I
other
think
people
so,
have to say.
Bobby's comments has more likes than our view has views. Like, it's very odd. I find that very strange.
That was hilarious. But okay, folks, please leave your comments, question, criticism down below, or make sure to get to them. If not, please like and subscribe. I'll see you in our next video. Thank you.